You want to make sure that you have that backup. That backup is extremely important, and not just a snapshot of your entire server, but a proper backup of both the databases and the file store, making sure that you back up through SQL for those databases.
Yeah,
you run into customers who run into problems and they need to restore, but they didn't have a proper backup, and you could lose months of data potentially.
yeah, even I think we had I think there was a customer that lost about a year of data just because
Ooh.
not only so yeah, having a backup, we set it up, it's going, but constantly maintaining it. That's one of the things that you want to do. You want to make sure, am I still getting backups? All of these things that we talked about today kind of add up in a way. Um, hard drive space, as your data grows, so does your backup, like Donnie mentioned. So, if you are thinking about grabbing two backups, right? Let's say you need a large drive to get two of your backups. As you grow, that space doubles every time for each for each batch. Eventually, if your backup is larger than half of your drive, then that second backup is going to fail. It's going to run out of space, and it's going to be like, hey, I'm running. So now you're getting a backup
Every other week.
yeah, instead of every week like you're thinking. And if you're not paying attention to that, eventually, maybe your backup drive is too small. That one's not going to throw any errors that you can see on the client side. So in Inventor, everything's going to work fine. But a year later, something catastrophic happens. You think you have a backup. You're like, all right, we're going to restore to last week. We'll be okay. Losing a week of work, right? Maybe it happened on Friday. You're trying to go back to last Friday. You look and there's no backup. There's no backup from the past 12 months. And it's honestly horrible to recover from. It's again, you lost all the progress you've made in that year. So it's just one of those things that's definitely preventable.
One of the other common things I find during our maintenance calls, when we are checking the backups to make sure that they're running properly, is password policies. So typically, there's a task in the task scheduler that's running to run these backups, and they're assigned to a user. That user has a password. Well, if that password is set to expire every 3 months and no one goes and changes it or remembers to change it, the backups won't run. That task will not run. It means you won't get backups. So you want to make sure that passwords are all up to date on the server, so those backups can run. Just had a customer, just talking with a customer recently. They lost a file. It was like one file in their vault, and it was from about a year ago, maybe a little less, but they couldn't find the file, but they needed it to open up an assembly or a drawing or something. And so we were talking with them about their options, and thankfully they had backups, right? They've been keeping their backups, and so they're like, they knew they had the file, let's say in March, but now it's missing. But they have those backups, so they could potentially upload create a quick server, put the vault back on there, restore that old version to that new server, grab that file, and move it over and upload it back into their production vault. So having a backup can really save a lot of hassle and some heartache.
Yeah. And then backup of your backup, right? So
Oh yeah.
even earlier, getting it offsite, having it on a hard drive. We had a customer that would like switch back and forth. So one week they would have one hard drive offloaded to that one. The next week they would go to a different hard drive. And that way, even if the hard drive fails, they still have a separate backup, right? So it may seem excessive, but trust me, it's people do this because they've people do it just because they've experienced something of this magnitude.